My name is Reuben, the Chief Operating Officer for Singapore FinTech Association. I would like to assume that most of our folks here would have heard me or seen me before, so good to see everyone here. Thank you for taking time to join us for today's session. And today marks a very, very important session for us. What we have here before you today is that we are actually presenting our nominees for the election that's going to be upcoming that's going to be held on 24th March. And this will be our fourth term. We are now you guys will be electing for the fourth term of the EXCO member or executive members, committee members in short to represent SFA. Now, before I hand it over to the nominating committee, I just want to share that and emphasize how important these roles are. As you have seen, the SFA has grown from strength to strength, and this year we are marking our 7th year as an association. You would have witnessed that SFA has grown a lot over the past 7 years. From a small association with only probably 20-30 members to right now we have 830 members with MOUs across 70 countries, with us leading delegations across the world. Really, I think SFA has become something of presence and eminence, and I think this is all a lot of credit goes to our executive committee, especially those the current term that we have from 2021 to 2023, led by Shadab and his team. So as we enter into this new era, as we have new elections going forward, I encourage all our members to choose wisely, to take this chance to listen in and hear what these members that are going to represent us, who's going to have an oversight and overseeing us as SFA, as we embark into this new road ahead. And I think as a journey, as times ahead to some extent turbulent, to some extent there will be some uncertainty, this new EXCO all the more plays an important role to guide us as to how we can continue to bring more benefits, to bring more network to our members so that largely at most or if not everyone can benefit from it. Now, without further ado, I'd like to, before we hand over to our nominating committee, Alex and Valerie, I'd like to take this chance to express a word of thanks for them. They have taken off a lot of time off their busy schedule to help us, to support us to be this nominating committee, which plays a very, very important role towards this whole election process. Now, allow me to hand the time to Alex and Val, who will then walk us through the agenda for later for going forward. Alex and Val, please.
Valerie, ladies first, do you want to start first and I will add from my side?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining the SFA nomination rally. Yep. So together with me, Alex, we have went through a series of the nominations, and we are pleased to selected all the ordinary committee members. Alex, should we just introduce the nominees?
Sure. Before we do that, also big thank you from our side. I mean, it was good to see so many submissions for all different roles, and I fully agree with Reuben. I think especially in this round, there are a lot of strong candidates who bring all their different expertise to make SFA even stronger going forward from all different parts of the fintech space. So yeah, before we go maybe in the candidates one by one, the way it will work, we will share who has presented their name for which role, and then you have around like 5-7 minutes to introduce yourself to the wider round and see like what kind of additional value you will bring to the SFA community. And just a reminder, so that will be the AGM will be on the 24th of March, so that will be the time for that. And we'll share at the end of this call with like more details, what and when it will happen on the 24th of March. Good. I hope if there's any further questions, please let us know. Otherwise, Valerie, I think we can start with the candidates.
Yep. So I think that we'll go by in alphabetical order. Yep. So we have first itself Adrian Ang from Allen and Glad here.
Thanks, Valerie. Am I frozen? Well, thanks everyone for taking the time to dial in today and to listen to us speak and present our platforms. Just by way of introduction, my name is Adrian Ang, and I'm a partner at Allen & Gladhill. Allen & Gladhill is a leading Southeast Asian law firm, the largest law firm in Singapore, and the full service in every jurisdiction that we practice in. Within the firm, I co-head the fintech practice, and I also co-head the ESG and public policy practices. I think more importantly, I have been a part of the existing executive committee of the SFA for the last 2 years. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. We've worked well together, and I think we've brought different skill sets, but more importantly, we've combined well together and delivered on what we've promised, and I like to think more. For me personally, perhaps I can just go through some of the initiatives that I've been involved in and what I hope to do moving forward. As the only practicing lawyer within the current EXCO, I have basically acted as the de facto general counsel of the SFA. So what does that entail? Many work streams. Unfortunately, most of them are not very glamorous, but they do require some amount of time to be spent. So to just break them down in terms of themes, I have looked at, reviewed, and amended the constitution of the SFA as well as the bylaws of the SFA. And some of you might actually notice that previously the constitution and the bylaws had some discrepancies and some inefficiencies. So we like to think within reason we've sorted those problems out. In addition to that, I've dealt with certain internal matters as well. So for example, within the EXCO itself, we've got situations where one may face a conflict situation, and what's the best legal way to resolve it. We have situations where an EXCO member has resigned, and I've advised on how best to replace this person in an orderly manner in accordance with the rules that the SFA binds itself to. And of course, situations where existing EXCO members change their jobs, and there's a question of whether once they change their jobs, their employers may or may not be members anymore, and how does that affect them moving forward. All of these are important questions because we want to make sure that when we act as an EXCO, we act in accordance with what everyone has agreed to. Apart from that, I've represented the SFA in dealing with third parties also. So this doesn't just include government agencies. For example, grants that we receive from government agencies. I've reviewed all the terms and conditions of these contracts, and where possible, I've tried to suggest amendments to negotiate with government agencies. Same goes with service providers that provide products and services to the SFA. And of course, in relation to the MOUs that we sign with other associations, there is some amount of work in making sure that the MOUs are kosher as well. I've also advised the SFA in relation to litigation-related matters. Thankfully, I say matters plural, but actually there was only a sniff of one potential litigation which turned out to be unfounded. But things like that still needed to be dealt with decisively. And apart from just looking at agreements and looking at litigation issues, I've tried to bring knowledge and increase the knowledge of our members. So how have I tried to do this? For example, some of you might have attended the legal clinics that I conducted in relation to the Payment Services Act. That's when the Payment Services Act first came into effect. I have also arranged for partners from my firm, as well as contacts from the legal industry, to provide further information on topics such as venture capital investments. And in the last couple of months, I think it was a good time to talk about things like insolvencies, things like employee retrenchments, as well as mediation as a form of dispute resolution in the current difficult times facing many fintech companies. I've also represented the SFA in engagements with the Monetary Authority of Singapore. So a lot of you have been involved in the consultation papers that were published in December. So things like the consultation on regulation of stable coins, the consultation paper on cryptocurrencies that came out in December. we organized a town hall. I wrote the first cut of the submissions and was involved in incorporating all the comments and so on and so forth. So that actually took up some amount of time. In addition, the SFA, in conjunction with other partners, published the Buy Now Pay Later code. Again, I was involved in reviewing of the draft versions of this code. And right at the start, when the Payment Services Act came out, I worked with the SFA to try to get some legal clarity on the Payment Services Act and regulations when it first came out. And so we had an engagement with MAS under the Payment Subcommittee to discuss these issues. Now, I'm nearing the end of this, so please bear with me. In terms of developing the fintech industry, I've tried to showcase Singapore as a fintech center to overseas players. So how have I tried to do this? Well, I've represented SFA in talks organized by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Singapore. And in these talks, they invite foreign regulators to come and discuss how Singapore regulates the fintech industry in general. And there are also many other seminars that I've given for the SFA, trying to get startups to come to Singapore to basically set up shop here. So, for example, the APEC FinTech Forum, the F10 Korea Startup Forum, K Startup Center, and so on and so forth. Now, it's one thing to just constantly drone on and on about like the stuff that I've done. So I think it's quite effective if I can give you some numbers to back what I'm saying. So as you know, for us lawyers, our time is basically dictated by our life is basically dictated by recording time, right? And so for every chargeable or non-chargeable, I record my time, including the time I spent with the Singapore FinTech Association. Quite accurately, I can say for the last 2 years that I've been in office, I've spent about 340 hours on legal services for the Singapore FinTech Association. And if you want to put a dollar value to it, that amounts to about 275,000 Singapore dollars. Now, I'll end by saying this. From whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, it seems like I am the only lawyer in legal practice that's standing for re-election. Please help me and provide me with an opportunity to continue to contribute to the Singapore FinTech Association and to continue, hopefully, the good work of the existing ExCo. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian.
Hi, sir. Sorry, Alex. Maybe if you could go by the appointment leaders first.
Yeah, Gwen, the way we will run is, so Valerie will run through the ordinary members, and I will do then the president, VP, and treasurer and post of secretary, if that's okay with you.
Yep, sure. So maybe we could go with the president first.
Okay, that's fine. Just for the wider group, so Adrian is applying for an ordinary member. But let's start then with the president first, and then we will follow with the other roles. Then on the president's side, I will like to pass over to Shadab, which all of us know very, very well. Yeah, Shadab, I don't need like a big introduction, so I pass the words to you.
Thank you, Alex. First of all, I'd like to thank Alex and Valerie for the time that you've taken to be part of the nomination committee. I can tell you it's a volunteer job, but it's quite fulfilling when you see the right team, to be taking SFA for the next 2 years again. I'd like to say, first of all, I have been extremely honored and humbled to have served SFA for the past 2 years. And I'm also very, very humble. It's very humbling for me to see that the community has sort of, given me the uncontested, I would say, opportunity to carry on by doing the work for the next 2 years as well. I'd like to highlight a few points which I think it's important for us to sort of, get the context right for all of us who are trying to understand, where the elections are, and how does it all work. So the association, we have been around for about 6 years plus, and we elect a term, an SFA ExCo for 2 years, because, we all believe in democracy, and we all want to make sure that hopefully the best people who have the drive, I would say the right intent in mind, and also the integrity to, sort of push forward the association as a community for all of us. So some numbers which will probably give you a bit more color, like in the past 2 years, our membership base has grown to 811 plus members. We also created the Singapore SG FinTech Club, which is the individuals community where individuals and professionals can come together. I'd also like to say that this is a very serious event that we're having today. Of course, it's important that we get the importance of elections, and also the much more needed time with our nominees for our voters to know us. But I think needless to say, the networking sessions and the events that we organize, we try to keep it as informal as possible, because the reality is networking and good business growth only happens if you're making friends and you're making contacts who you can trust each other with. So that's been one of the clear mantras of my exco, or my team for the past 2 years, where we build these long-lasting relationships. It's not within just the Singapore community, but also with professionals and associations across the region and across the globe as well, because Singapore is only as successful as a fintech hub, or one of the fintech hubs, if the fintech ecosystems in the ASEAN region and also Hong Kong and Middle East are also successful as well, because then fintech grows as a community overall. So SFA, I'm happy to report that as an organization, SFA has been able to push forward its so-called weight, and also the respect and reputation in the industry. It has only grown. Our previous 2 excos laid a good solid foundation. We have made sure that we really build on it and bring the whole community together to raise up the standards, to raise up the level of participation, and also to make sure that we leave SFA towards a sense of sustainability and also financial sustainability as well. That has been also possible because the first 3 or 4 months of our team's election, and most of my team members are here. Thankfully, I'm happy to report that 6 out of the 11 current exco members have raised their hands to run again for the elections and to put their name forward for another 2 years. The ones who actually dropped out because of real reasons. 2 of them moved out of Singapore, and 2 of them could not run again because of the constitution of a 2-term limit. So a lot of work has been done in the past 2 years. I think where we are heading towards is towards a path of sustainability, which is basically done in 2 ways. One is having clear revenue streams being defined and looking at new revenue streams. So we have launched new programs. We have also sort of increased the fees as well. But beyond that, more importantly, we have added more value to our initiatives, such as the fintech certification and so on, with some clear revenue streams defined with it. We have been able to get a good support from our sponsors, and our membership has grown too. And that has also happened because we made sure in the first 3 to 4 months of our election, we put a lot of emphasis on getting the team right. So when we were elected, there were between 4 and 5 people as full-time staff of SFA. Now the number is 12 full-time staff with about 5 interns to help support. So there's a lot of initiatives. There are a lot of things that we have done, including the formation of subcommittees, which are the arms and legs of SFA. So there were subcommittees before, but we have really revamped the structure of subcommittees, and now we have 10 active subcommittees. Happy to report that 3 new subcommittees and 1 fully refreshed subcommittee. Some of you are members of those subcommittees as well. The main objective of all our subcoms is basically advocacy, where we have been able to run these regular regulatory roundtables with EMAs and other policymakers. Web3 is a great example. Payments is even bigger in terms of the number of regulatory roundtables that have been run. Adrian is part of that team as well. Overall, subcommittees have played a very important role in ensuring that SFA becomes visible. SFA is long-term useful to its members, and SFA can play a pivotal role in the policy making, at least in the feedback of policy making, and also ensure the voice is communicated to the policymakers and regulators. We are thankful that we have a collaborative regulator, but we are even more thankful to our members who have actually put their names and hands up to be part of the subcommittees and take a direct involvement in the action there. In addition to that, there has been a lot of work put in to increase the profile of the Singapore fintech ecosystem around the region and around the globe as well. So quite a few of our Exco members have participated in overseas events, mission trips that SFA has organized. These are networks that would be useful for our fintech companies to tap onto when they are looking at expanding in other countries. Last year, we did 2 mission trips. This year, we're doing 4 more mission trips. The other aspect that I'd like to highlight before I finish, I don't want to hog the overall stage, is the fintech talent pool. So one of the key asks from most of the founders that we spoke to ever since we got elected was the lack of talent pool. So we've taken some steps in sort of supporting that. So one is, of course, more engagement with the institutes of higher learning, such as universities and polytechnics. We set up the Singapore Fintech Youth Chapter as well in collaboration with the polytechnics. We have also recently launched the Career Conversion Program, which is a 9-month program, 3 months of structured training with Ngee Ann Poly, and 6 months of attach and train career conversion program, where our mid-career professionals who are from different industries can actually join fintech, in a way which is easier, and in a way which also provides our own fintech companies, our members, to be able to build the talent pool beyond the traditional supply of talent which comes from fresh graduates and experienced hires. So there are more such initiatives in the pipeline, because I think SFA only progresses if we progress with the full community and also have a very clear view on building the talent pool to support our ecosystem. So fintech talent pool is a very important aspect. So overall, there are 4 pillars that SFA rests on, and some of my colleagues who are running with me for election as a team would highlight that as well. Most importantly, being advocacy group, or us being the voice of Singapore fintech. Second, taking efforts for business growth of our companies, including mission trips and networking events. Third, being creating more efficiency in raising capital, which includes networking with the investor community, working closely with them. And finally, which I just highlighted earlier, which is the growth of the fintech talent pool. So we will march ahead. We will, I would say, exponentially increase our efforts in the next 2 years. We are definitely looking forward to, because now we are in a much robust, much more stable shape to push. With that, I'd like to share my screen very, very quickly to give you a sense of the people who have put their name forward in terms of running with the existing team. So please support us. Please vote for us so that we can continue to service you for the next 2 years again. I hope you're able to see the screen. No, I have shared the screen. I'll just give me a second. I'll just make sure that it's shared. And hopefully you can see it now. This is the team, which we would appreciate if you're able to vote for the team going forward. So you can see there are 6 of us from the current existing team. Me, Kylan, Adrian, who you've just heard, Shi Mei, who was the former treasurer, but she's running for the committee member position now. Matt, as well as Chun Hao. You will hear from some of us today. And also we are joined by 5 exceptional individuals who have put their name forward to run with us as a team because of clear alliances and alignment with the idea. With that, thank you so much, and appreciate you voting for us.
Excellent, Shadab. Thank you very much. I think there was a very, very clear message. From the role of the president, we are moving to 2 individuals who are nominated for vice president role, and I will start with Kyling first.
Kyling is not on the call today.
Okay, then we make it at a later stage, and then I'll move to David. David Bachelier, over to you.
Yes, hello everybody. I'm David. Very nice to meet you. Thank you for organizing everything. Thank you, Shadab and the team. So I'm David. I know some of you, but not everyone. So I think I will start by introducing myself and then describing what are my ideas for the SFA and my involvement in the exec team. So I'm David Bachelier. I'm a French citizen, as maybe you hear from my accent. Also, I'm trying hard to lose it. I'm a French engineer. I started my career in trading derivative options in banks. I started my career 20 years ago, and I traded options for about 12 years in Hong Kong, Singapore, and London. mostly for BNP Paribas, the French bank, but also for HSBC. And then after, when I was 35 years old, I really wanted to build a fintech. So I think that's why I'm here, because I'm since then, and it's been 10 years, I'm full-time doing fintechs. It's currently my second company. My first company was Capital Lab. I did it for 8 years. It's a fintech that is optimizing the balance sheet for the large banks trading derivatives. So, in a way to minimize the capital footprint for the banks following the default of Lehman Brothers in 2008. So it's 50 people operations. It's now fully owned by BGC Partners, the Nasdaq listed broker company. And then I exited this business 18 months ago. I joined a company where I was a seed investor. It's a crypto market maker. So we are building market infrastructure for the digital assets space. And I'm myself, I got into digital assets in 2017. I'm a big believer of the potential of the blockchain and tokenization of the assets into the future of finance, the future of payment, the future of trading, the future of exchanging assets and value. So I'm now the CEO for Asia Pacific for this company. So we started, now we have 15 people in Singapore. And as part of this, I became a member of SFA because I really believe in the transfer of knowledge and the sharing of knowledge between Europe, which is my geography, and Singapore. So I'm in Singapore for 10 years. I'm a Singapore PR, and I'm very involved with EDB. I'm currently discussing a innovation lab idea with EDB to see how we can train a fresh grad from Singapore by bringing more experienced IT and developers and quantitative engineers from France or elsewhere in Europe into Singapore to train the young grad and then get a partnership with EDB. So I did that. I'm applying for the license, DPT license with MAS. So I've been very involved in that. And I think we could make it a little bit faster as a process, maybe altogether. So what I want to do and why I applied to the job, I think Singapore is in a very niche position and very interesting position to contribute to supporting to be at the center of this revolution. So I'm myself full-time practitioner and fintech entrepreneur into the digital asset space, and I believe Singapore is well positioned to take the most of the tokenization of the world. So whether you believe or not into crypto is one thing. All the speculation and the bad things that happen in crypto is one thing, but tokenization of assets, of money, of payment is a real thing. Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, sorry, maybe I think my line is bad. So that's why I want to to spread the good word about the potential of Singapore, to attend the events, to be speaking at conferences. I'm going to Hong Kong next week, at the end of the month, sorry. And I think, as a long-term supporter of Singapore, I think it's my mission also to give back and to be part of this association, to be part of the wider group, and to share what I've been through and what I see in terms of fintech and entrepreneurship in Singapore. That's it for me, guys.
Excellent. David, thank you very much. For the next role, I will continue with the role of the Post Treasurer. No, I think Scott is still on the call, right? Is Scott already in?
I think
I don't see Scott in the.
Yeah, maybe we can go with the secretary.
Okay, then we go with the Post Secretary, and then I'll forward the word to Chye Kit. Over to you, please.
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks to the nomination committee for arranging this session for us. And I also want to say thank you to the existing EXCO members, especially under the leadership of Shadab, for having done a great job over the last 2 years. Now, my name is Chye Kit. I'm no stranger to Singapore FinTech Associations, SFA, because I've actually, for some of you who knows, my verticals is in the regulatory technology space, RegTech. I've actually chaired or rather founded the RegTech subcommittee way back 4 years ago, and have chaired that committee, over the last 4 years as well. So that's we'll talk a little bit about that in a while, but a little bit more about myself, my background for some of you who do not know me. I started my career way back in 1997. Was an auditor by training. And I moved into banks, running compliance functions, for firstly ING Bank, and more not so recent with the Australian bank Macquarie Group, till 2014, and I founded Synopsys Solutions, which I'm the CEO and co-founder of the RegTech company since then, right? So Synopsys basically does AML, KYC, end-to-end SaaS, and we service clients in the financial sector, traditional fintech, and including blockchain, crypto, as well as the non-financial services space as well at the moment. So we service clients, about close to 500 clients across 34 different jurisdictions. Now, back to SFA. When we founded the RegTech subcommittee way back 4 years ago, we have a few mission and a vision, and with a few very passionate people. We wanted to create this ecosystem of RegTech, because at that time, a lot of people are still talking about fintech. There's very little knowledge about what exactly is RegTech. Basically, regulatory technology means using technology to solve regulatory problem in its simplest form. So, with that, we started to try and promote, the concept of RegTech, engage with the regulators, build out ecosystem maps, build out pitch books, for our RegTech service providers, colleagues within Singapore FinTech Associations, and also took the RegTech subcommittee map, beyond Singapore shore, because what we've done is also, over the last 4 years, like for example, with other fintech associations in Hong Kong, Malaysia, as well as Japan, we created this, APAC RegTech network, whereby we constantly exchange ideas and share latest trends and nuances in the space. And at the same time, over the last several years, have also worked with, I would say, government agencies in other parts of the world, including Ireland, Scotland, where the Scottish enterprise or the Enterprise Ireland wanted to collaborate with the RegTech subcommittee in SFA, to promote RegTech cross-pollination across both jurisdictions. I've also represented SFA in the past to speak with the Arab Monetary Fund, a congregations of quite a number of regulators in the Middle Eastern jurisdictions, wanting to understand how Singapore have evolved, not just as a fintech hub, but also as an ecosystem for RegTech players in the region. So they want to learn about what we do here. So in short, there's a lot of opportunities where we, I believe, with us, our team being coming in, for this next 2 years, leverage off a lot of the MOUs that SFA have signed over the last 6 over years, which we can operationalize these MOU in one way, shape, or form, to be able to take the SFA's members' capabilities beyond Singapore, right? And then we can actually grow the ecosystem a lot better. And to Shadab's point earlier on, to be able to ensure that our ecosystem grows, with the growth of business. So if you look at the role that I'm going for, I mean, it's uncontested. Grateful for that. But I'm going to be the secretary. But I would like to also just quickly, shout out to the running mates, which you've seen this slide deck earlier on from Shadab. Just a couple of points that I want to flag out here. Focus on the tagline SFA forward together, right? I think that is a very powerful message that we want to bring to all SFA members who's joining us at this rally, as well as through the voting process or during the AGM on the 24th of March. Really, we want to take SFA forward, and the only way to move forward is to do it together, right? Be it from different verticals of fintech or different verticals of the segment, be it traditional finance or the newer verticals of the ecosystem. I think all should come together, and move forward. So I think we've got a very diversified team of people that were running together as a team, and I think I do hope that you give the rest of my running mates the opportunity to serve you, and like to end the session by saying that I think my personal example of running the RegTech subcommittee, which is probably one of the more established subcommittee within the SFA itself, and having done the grassroots work and groundwork, and now moving on to take on a broader position, within the SFA ecosystem. I think that just demonstrates, a very, very healthy ecosystem, at play. So with that, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your attention. Do vote for our running mates, and let's take SFA forward together. Thank you.
Excellent, Chye Kit. Thank you. Very good message. So this was for the role of the secretary. Since the treasurer and the second candidate for vice president are currently not available, we will move forward with the ordinary members. And here pass to Valerie for the intro of the next candidate.
Hi, all right. So I'm going to introduce the next candidate. I have already went through Adrian. So there's another Adrian, Adrian Chng from Fintona Group. Pass over to you.
Right, thanks, Valerie, and thanks to the nomination committee and the SFA for organizing this. So I just wanted to do three things today, and I promise to be quick. One was just to give a brief background about myself. The second would be to talk about, I guess, some of the key focus areas that I would like the SFA to focus on, and thirdly is to talk about, I guess, the team and the joining the broader SFA team. So I'm pretty honored to have the opportunity to serve the community. I currently am a member of the inaugural Web3 subcommittee, and I enjoyed contributing and feel that it's an important thing for the industry to have advocates, and particularly in Web3 with the amount of regulations and changes that happened last year. It was a good opportunity for us as an industry to work with the regulators to try and build a more sustainable industry. So a little bit about myself. I am the founder of Fintonia Group. We are a licensed crypto asset manager here in Singapore and Dubai. But we started off originally as a fintech venture capital firm. So I have quite a broad range of experience across different fintech verticals. I co-founded the digital lending business in the Philippines and in Vietnam. Co-founded a alternative data analytics company called Credolab, which won a prize at the Singapore FinTech Festival a couple of years ago. And I was also CEO of GoBear, a data analytics and consumer origination platform. Yeah. So for me, I think I've also done a number of different things in my career. I have worked in large multinationals. I've worked in global organizations, and I'm also an entrepreneur and a founder. And most recently, really just an entrepreneur, right? So for me, I think the key things for us in Singapore and the Singapore FinTech Association is, one key role is to be the voice for Singapore FinTech. If we just look at the amount of changes that are happening, whether that's on the regulatory side, whether that's with new industry verticals, we talk about buy now, pay later. 2 years ago, 3 years ago was not as a big issue, but now it's a big one. Now we talk about Web3, we talk about payments. So I think the association one of the key focus areas, I think, for us should be to be the voice of Singapore fintech, so that we can still remain relevant as an industry, and Singapore here as a global hub can actually, I guess, set the standard for the region. I think the second thing that's dear to my heart is simplifying access to capital. As an entrepreneur and for many fintech businesses, access to capital is important, and this is also plays to Singapore's strength. And that should be an area where I think the association can help increase linkages with other investors, with other organizations. And finally, foster business growth. And I think the SFA has done an amazing job. I've been a member for many years, but in recent times, having overseas trade missions coming to Singapore as well as going out. And I think ultimately, our role in Singapore is a hub. So being able to grow is a key focus. For me, I'm running together with the team that Shadab has run with 6 existing members. And the reason for that is 3 things. One, I find all my interactions with the SFA from Shadab and the Secretariat to be very professional. And I think many of us are professionals and we want to all achieve the same goals. I think the second reason is it's a very cohesive team. And I think teams achieve more together than separately. And I think that's a credit to Shadab and his team, and also the Secretariat, Reuben and his team. A very cohesive team can achieve more. And finally, I think for me, having been a member of the SFA since the start, the last couple of years have been many things that are achieved. I won't run through them all. I think Shadab has shared in terms of the growth of members, in terms of growth of funding, in terms of number of subcommittees and so on. So it would be an honor for me to be elected as an ordinary committee member and to be working with Shadab and the team. So that's all for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adrian, for the sharing. Yep. So I'll pass over to Mr. Alban, Olivier. Salam.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to attend this rally. And thank you to the existing committee members for all the work done so far. It's come a long way. So well done, guys. I'm Alban Salord. I was born French, like David. The accent is unmistakable. But I became a Singapore citizen a little over 10 years ago. So over the duration of my 25-year career, I studied and worked in 5 countries: UK, France, Australia, Hong Kong, Singapore, which gives me a very international outlook and a sensitivity to multicultural environment, which I think is very important for the SFA Exco, as international collaboration is critical, as Shadab mentioned earlier, but also because many of the SFA members are in fact companies originating beyond our little dot. So I'm a lawyer by training, so I started as a law academic, and this has really influenced my entire career, both in terms of my own continuous education journey, and I recently became a certified coach, but also in terms of how I have managed large teams, focusing on creating learning teams that could evolve and adapt. And this is highly relevant as a fundamental mission of the body, like the SFA is education, and that has been mentioned as well earlier on. So I worked as a legal counsel in the energy and defense industries, negotiating major deals and government contracts in Europe and beyond. And beyond the commercial experience this gave me, it also provided me with a deep understanding of legal issues directly relevant to SFA members, like competition. I've got a PhD in competition law, and exclusivity clauses, general contracts law, intellectual property rights, and so on. And there is a number of law firm members of the SFA, which really is a testament to the need for such legal understanding to help support and grow the fintech ecosystem. And finally, maybe more relevant to the position, I have made a career in the banking industry, in particular in retail, wealth, and private banking in the legal and compliance space. So over the last 10 years, I've held senior management positions, including APAC Head of Sales Governance at ANZ, Global Head Financial Crime Compliance Private Banking at Stanchart, Regional Head of Financial Crime Compliance at HSBC, covering retail, asset management, brokerage, insurance, and wealth. I've worked both in the first and second line of defense, And I've been an advocate for the adoption of technology to enhance risk management and optimize resource allocation. So I'm very familiar with the RegTech space and Chye Kit. We've been on a couple of panels together. So the last sort of 15 years in compliance have really given me a great understanding of the regulatory environment. I'm actually a financial industry certified practitioner, compliance here in Singapore with the IBF, which I think is key as the fintech industry is really at a crucial juncture with regulators around the world looking to regulate, and for good reasons. So I think it is critical for the SFA to be able to continue engaging the MAS and support the development of a regulatory framework that both protects Singapore financial system and consumers, but also supports the growth of a key component of Singapore's economic strategy. So over the last 4 years, I have also contributed, a significant amount of my time to supporting the industry on a pro bono basis, from attending the first F10, now 10ET hackathon as a mentor in 2019, to helping select startups and mentors of startups with the F10 acceleration program. I've been collaborating with R3 Venture Development for a couple of years, being what they call a business hour mentor, and also collaborating with the International Compliance Association on issues of technology. So currently, I've stepped off the corporate treadmill to focus on two key interests, one probably more popular than the other. So I wanted to experience running my own food and beverage business and increase my involvement in the fintech industry. So two very different things, but you can have more than one interest in life. So I'm a very passionate foodie, again, which Singaporean isn't. And I wanted to take this passion to the next step. So running my own private dining venture is what I've decided to do. And that gives me unique insight into what it means to be an entrepreneur and the challenges of running my own business. This also gives me the time and flexibility to engage in my second key interest that sees me before you today, which is getting more involved and support the development of the fintech industry. So in that respect, I've teamed up with RegPact Revolution, who many of you would know, who I had been collaborating pro bono with for many years to support their business growth, as well as expand their service offerings to advisory services for startups. And I just want to give a shout out to Mona here and RegPact for proposing my nomination. So totally aligned with the four priorities that Shadab, or the four pillars that Shadab earlier on explained around advocacy, business growth, creating more efficiencies, growth on the fintech domain. So a couple of things that I think can have a bit of a spotlight, and for me it's coming from a big bank where adoption of technology is actually very slow and could be a lot faster. I think we need to support accelerating the adoption of AI-driven solutions. There's a lot of challenges that I think the SFA can help with in terms of educating senior decision makers, supporting smaller startups with helping to address the trust gap, supporting adoption of cloud technology, which is key to actually sort of being able to, to leverage technology. This morning I was at a round table at the Tower Club, and one of the key topics there was around ESG, and I think the SFA has an ESG subcommittee, which is great. I think we need to lead really in that space with sort of trying to help understand what exactly ESG means to the industry, what would be a metrics framework, continue increasing regulatory engagement, and then last but not least, championing and supporting good governance amongst SFA members. We talked about crypto, we've seen FTX. There is a lot to be said about, how do we improve governance within that space to avoid those things. And then last but not least, and then we talked about that earlier, I think is really around the development of the cryptocurrency regulatory framework for Singapore. This is really critical, and many outside of Singapore are watching what is being done here. It is also very important for the development of Web3, as distributed and decentralized applications will likely draw on cryptocurrencies and tokens, as David earlier mentioned. So I think I'm almost out of time. So just to finish on a lighter, more personal note, you might be wondering what I do when I'm not in the kitchen. or mentoring startups. Well, I used to be an avid MMORPG gamer, but with increasingly demanding career, I've settled for strategy game. It's a little bit less time consuming. I'm also involved with a local charity supporting children of prisoners. And I mentor students from my alma mater, Reading University in the UK. And most mornings you will find me bright and early taking a long walk by East Coast Park with my 4-year-old boxer called Lucy. So thank you for your time today, and vote for me. Thank you, guys.
Sorry, thank you, Alban, for the sharing. And now I'll move on to Bernard Chan. Is Bernard around? Okay.
Hello, everyone. This is Bernard here from Advanced Intelligence Group. A bit about myself. I'm originally from Hong Kong, as you can probably tell from my accent, but I've been in Singapore since 2008. So Singapore is pretty much my home. My current role in Advanced, so a bit about Advanced Intelligence Group. We are a Series D tech startup headquartered in Singapore with presence in 4 other countries in the ASEAN, Vietnam, Malaysia, Philippines, as well as Indonesia. Indonesia is currently our biggest market. We are both an enterprise player where we do enterprise EKYC service, credit scoring services, as well as we also have a consumer finance business, Atomi, which is a regional buy now player in the region. Now, the reason we join, or I raise my hand to join as part of this to hopefully to get nominated as a committee is that our company has benefited very greatly from the SFA. More particularly, I was part of the drafting committee of the BNPL Code of Conduct. What the BNPL Code of Conduct is that it is a code, not a regulations, on how BNPL activities is to be done here in Singapore. So the MAS, instead of issuing a regulation, I think they came to the conclusion that it's better to start with a code first. And from this process, myself as well as our firm has benefited very greatly by working with members of SFAs to influence the regulators to what we want. And this make us realize that if the industry gel together, we can do a lot together, right? And so we're very thankful for what SFA has helped us as a firm, help our industry, and therefore we joined as part of the Shadab's team to to hopefully contribute back to the community. So thank you, everyone, and hopefully that we can serve you.
Thank you, Bernard, for the introduction. Now I pass over to Shi Mei.
Yes. Yep. Hello. Hi. All right. Hi, everyone. Yeah. I'm Shi Mei. Currently serving as the treasurer of Singapore FinTech Association, and it's been a very amazing term. And since my term is ending as treasurer, I'd like to just continue working with the team in my capacity as an ordinary committee member. Before I go on to sharing more about what the team has done, I think I'll just take the opportunity to introduce myself. So I am the CFO of Spark Systems. Spark Systems is a Series BB FinTech company, and we are backed by leading financial institutions such as Citi, HSBC, and Goldman, and prominent venture capital firms. So what Spark Systems do, we are a FX trading platform, and we're trying to meet the needs of the industry. So in my capacity, I'm, well, like basically the finance human. So I in addition to being the treasurer, so I also overlook the financial accounting processes and reporting, capital fundraising, and relationships with investors. So my involvement within the fintech industry has a long-standing history. I've been around since the infancy of fintech in Singapore, as per to say. So prior to this, I was in PwC. So I was in audit and assurance for capital banking markets. And when I was doing audit, I was also tasked to help set up the fintech team within PwC. And that's how I first put my foot into the water of this really, really amazing, vibrant, growing ecosystem. And, you know, I love it so much, you know, working with fintechs, working with people in the ecosystem. I'm sure all of us are here today because we do love the environment, we do love the ecosystem. And, you know, having worked with them, I eventually joined fintech myself. And I've also been involved with Singapore Fintech Association as a member from for the longest time. I was in the subcommittee in the previous term. So I think it's the 2019 one. And then after that I became treasurer. I'm also part of fintech incubator. So Tenity, they were previously known as F10, a mentor with this fintech accelerator. And you know, and you know, my involvement continues within my capacity with under Shadab's leadership and the ExCo's hard efforts. Like it's my involvement increased. I was also the Singapore FinTech Festival ambassador. We did a lot of things over the term, like you know, just to reiterate the few points that, you know, Shadab has mentioned, right? Like, you know, we have scaled SFA tremendously over the term, you know, like a startup. We can say that, you know, SFA is like a startup ecosystem entity. So, you know, we focus by way of like, you know, growing local talent by rolling out our BFSU youth chapter, rolling out the career conversion programs, celebrate fintech, celebrate the ecosystem through the Singapore FinTech Festival and through the Global FinTech Awards, and also be the voice of fintech. Basically, tell the public what the ground is experiencing. And this has been proven by our payments group, the rollout of the BNPL code, and so on and so forth. And we are focusing on further expanding Singapore FinTech Association, growing the association. So we want to keep this momentum going. And it's by way of not just bringing fintech into Singapore, but also bringing fintech out of Singapore. And, you know, we have conducted plenty of mission trips. We have a mission trip upcoming in end April to the UK. You know, we've conducted expansion series webinar, educating the market to understand what is it like to expand out of Singapore. And during the festival last year, we actually formed the ASEAN FinTech movement, which is a great feat for all of us. So, I mean, with all that said, I don't want to go on too much more because it'll take the whole entire day and I don't want to take too much of your time. You know, I really hope that I can bring my expertise and experience from a perspective of not just an individual, but also perspective as a fintech company to keep this momentum going, to not stop where we are today. And together with the team, to continue this ever-growing ecosystem. So hashtag SFA forward together. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Shi Mei.
Shi Mei. Yeah, thanks, Shi Mei. Yep, so moving on to Daniel Low.
Now, before we move to Daniel, we have
Yep.
Scott dialed in. So Scott has put in his name for being the treasurer. So good to see you, Scott. And yeah, without further ado, I'll pass the word to you for your intro. Over to you.
Thank you. So as you said, my name is Scott Krivokopich. I'm a partner at 1982 Ventures, and I'm very proud to be a nominee for treasurer of the SFA. I guess I'm a bit of background about me. I've been working in the fintech space in Singapore and across the region since about 2016. I've had the privilege to work with many of the members of the SFA and got to witness and even participate in the growth of quite a few of them. As a treasurer of the SFA, I really want to just continue the work that's been done over the last few years. There's been tremendous progress. I think anybody who's followed the work of the SFA has seen the organization grow in all the right ways. The SFA has taken an active role in helping bridge the gap between policy and the community as a whole through working groups, through advocacy, as well as serving members through a lot of other ways, which is whether it's missions, representing Singapore fintech in other markets, and as well as starting out the what do you call it, the fintech membership association. So there's just a lot of ways that have been there's a lot of, I guess, positive momentum, and I really just want to help see that continue to grow forward and do my part to contribute to that.
Thank you, Scott, for the introduction. I'll pass it on to Holly, please.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Very nice to meet all of you. And thanks to the nominating committee and SFA for organizing this session. So I'm a new face here. My name is Holly Fang. I am the head of financial partnerships for Asia Pacific at Airwallex. In my role, I own the strategy and the roadmap for Airwallex's partnerships network with financial institutions across the APAC region, overseeing end-to-end engagements with our banking partners, scheme networks like Visa, MasterCard, and Amex, payment providers like the wallet players, as well as the buy now, pay laters, that together form the underlying infrastructure of Airwallex's product suite. So a little bit about Airwallex for those of you who might not be familiar. We are a global financial and payments platform for businesses. We help to remove the unnecessary friction and cost that's inherent in the current financial system. And some of our products include account transfers, FX, issuing, and payment acceptance. We were actually founded in Melbourne in 2015 and very quickly became the fastest growing Australian unicorn. And today we're valued at $5.5 billion and employ over 1,300 employees across 19 offices, with investors including DST Global, Sequoia, Salesforce Ventures, and MasterCard. Here in Singapore, I am the director of our Singapore business, a part of the leadership team, and also the longest serving employee in the Singapore office. As one of the office leaders, I oversaw the exponential growth of Airwallex over the past few years, especially here in Singapore. We started out in a co-working space and then very quickly moved to our first office on Market Street, and more recently to our new permanent home at Guaco Tower, where we have close to 100 employees today. So we received our major payment institution license in late 2021 and rolled out our full suite of services to Singapore-based businesses at the start of last year. And that's why I think Airwallex is a relatively new entrant to the ecosystem here. Of course, a lot of the hard work for the license application, building up the financial infrastructure with the banks and the schemes to support our product suite, this was laid years before that. And I was very lucky to have led those initiatives. Singapore is a key hub for us, and we are committed to growing here in Singapore, with plans to double our employee numbers this year. And also globally, we've announced plans to hire 500 new employees by year end. Prior to Airwallex, I was actually started my career in the public sector with the Economic Development Board, which was a statutory board under the Ministry of Trade and Industry. There, I was very involved in government initiatives and interministerial dialogues, interagency working groups to support the growth of the tech industry in Singapore. And that was how I first got introduced to the world of tech and startup innovation. I then joined App Annie, which was a market leader at the time in mobile app intelligence and analytics, as their head of strategic partnerships for APAC. So I believe that my experience, having worked in the government as a public servant, as well as experience in leadership roles in tech and fintech companies at various stages of growth, positions me well to contribute as an ordinary member of the ExCo of SFA. I think more specifically around how I can contribute. So I was watching the SFA intro video, and in the MS Chief FinTech Officer, Sopnandu mentioned that the key roles for SFA includes building a community and being the voice for that community. And Shadab also reiterated this in your opening remarks. For me, I have been doing partnerships for over a decade and have built very extensive knowledge and experience in community building, in bringing together people and ideas. And in my role as the head of financial partnerships, I have also established a very strong network of relationships, having secured partnerships deals across both large financial institutions like banks, global banks, as well as with schemes like Visa, MasterCard, fintechs, as well as other players in our ecosystem across the region, including Southeast Asia, Australia, New Zealand, and Greater China. As part of the global partnerships team, I also help to deepen our partnership collaborations in Singapore with other major markets, including Australia, the UK, and the US. Coupled with my early experience working in the government and leading public-private sector partnerships and facilitating dialogues, I think I'm also well placed to identify and understand the issues that our community cares about and to identify opportunities and platforms to help facilitate these conversations effectively. Second is on growing the community. And I know one of the main aims for the SFA is to help accelerate the growth of fintechs operating here or entering into Singapore. I have personal experience building up local operations from our initial entry to our official launch following the MPI license, growing from 0 to 1 and from 1 to 100, and will be able to share my experience and learnings with similar newer entrants to our ecosystem to help them anchor and to grow. And the other area that I'm very passionate about, which Shadab also mentioned, is a very key focus, is championing fintech as an industry employer of choice. I think I'm very much ingrained from my EDB days in thinking about the direct benefits and impact of economic growth and investments that we bring into Singapore, what that actually means for us and for Singaporeans. And I think it's the jobs that we create, the good jobs with good career prospects. And I believe that our industry creates those good opportunities for our local workforce. Now, we can certainly do more together to reach out, provide training, internship opportunities to support both fresh grads as well as mid-career hires, and also along the same veins to help bring about greater diversity and foster greater inclusion to help the underrepresented communities like women and working moms in fintech. And actually on that note, happy International Women's Day to all the women on this call. And lastly, I know I'm a new face, and as one of the few looking to be nominated into SFA's Exco for the very first time, I will bring fresh ideas and novel ways of thinking to the table, and I hope that you will give me this chance to serve you. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly, for the introduction. I would like to move on to Matthew Lovatt. Thank you.
Thanks, Valerie, and hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. So as Valerie mentioned, I'm Matthew Lovatt. I'm a partner at Deloitte and also a current serving member of the Exco. For those of you who have not met before, I'm a non-practicing lawyer qualified in the UK and also a Singapore accredited tax advisor. And I help lead Deloitte Singapore's and Southeast Asia tax service lines as they relate to fintech, Web3, digital assets. So over the past 2 years with Exco, I've been heavily involved in representing SFA from those perspectives, adopting a role in engaging with external stakeholders and correspondent organizations, including public authorities and other industry associations on all aspects of Web3, digital assets, digital identity, with a view to then supporting and promoting the Singapore ecosystem. Another focal point of my work with Exco has been working with Kai Lin in particular to restructure and update the subcommittee structures and to help ensure that there's a clear and established process to support the establishment and the ongoing operation of the subcommittees. Now that work may have been going on in the background, but it has laid the foundation for the successful launch of the newer subcommittees, including Web3 and Wealth Tech. In addition to my role with SFA, I'm also an active member of Access's Digital Asset Management Subcommittee and also a member of the British Chamber of Commerce's Finance and FinTech Subcommittee. So I've been making real efforts to try and ensure that there are synergies that can be leveraged between the different subcommittees with a view to them promoting the activities of the organization, including the SFA as a whole. So I'm standing for re-election as part of the group that Shadab introduced. As Shadab intimated, the team assembled comprises around 50% of the current EXCO members and 50% colleagues standing for a first term. Ultimately, we have a vision of continuing the momentum delivered and being experienced over the past 2 years, whilst also involving other leading sector stakeholders to facilitate new ideas and approaches, and to ultimately make sure that SFA continues to lead in a way that benefits the full range of members over the coming term. Now, as somebody who spends their days in a professional services firm, I also have to keep time records for professional purposes. So I can say with a good level of certainty that I've spent in excess of about 320 hours working on SFA specific initiatives over the past 2 years. I see my involvement as modest, but I'm proud of what the team has achieved over the past 2 years and having been a part of that. And I do remain very much committed to a role with the SFA through EXCO going forward. Now, turning back to my professional practice and experience slightly, my practice concerns helping clients, both fintech and financial services, structure business models, supply chains, transactions, and that gives me a very practical sort of specialist knowledge and insight that enables me to input into EXCO and contribute to SFA in a very practical way. And I'm both keen and committed to doing so for the next term. And to just add some colour to that, I think being an advisor to fintech means that I'm engaging with local and international stakeholders across verticals on a daily basis, helping to tackle a very wide range of practical challenges. And I think that puts me in a very well-informed, well-positioned sort of role to be able to contribute to the SFA strategic activities going forward. And to just sort of bring this to a conclusion, I think whilst I'm presenting to you today as a member of a team that most of you will be seeing for the first time, I'd just like to mention that a lot of work has gone on behind the scenes to ensure that the team that has been put in front of you is strong, diverse, and fully aligned. And the team has been specifically assembled to lead EXCO, guided by the clear strategy based around 4 pillars that some of the other members have mentioned. So being the voice of Singapore fintech, fostering business growth, simplifying access to capital, and driving operational efficiencies and opportunities for members. Now, those objectives will be most impactfully realised through sponsors for ongoing projects being re-elected, and through the election of new members of the team identified who have already demonstrated clear commitments to the SFA in other ways, including through subcommittee engagements. And I think, as Shi Mei mentioned, SFA itself is like a startup. Growth over the past 2 years has been tremendous, and with the right team, we can push for exponential growth going forward. So to conclude, we have a strong team. With respect to me and my involvement in particular, I do think that I have a strong position to be able to continue supporting EXCO and the SFA as a whole. I'd like to ask for your support, not only for my own continued involvement, but also to provide the team identified and the individuals identified with a mandate that will help facilitate SFA and the members moving forward together. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Yep, so we'd like to move on to Pauline. Pauline, please.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, thanks everyone. I'm Pauline, and I'm from Sleek. So happy Women's Day to all the women that's here today. I'm actually part of the first elected EXCO for Singapore FinTech Association. So I'm as old as SFA can get. So I was there from 2017 to 2019 in the first elected EXCO, where I also served as a lead for women in FinTech. And you know, I used to say, I look forward to a day where we don't have to celebrate International Women's Day because it will be already prevalent and commonplace. But I'm really honored back then to be part of the first building blocks of the FinTech ecosystem in Singapore and seeing it organized, working together with MES since then. And back then I was part of the FinLab, which is the innovation lab of UOB, one of the 3 local banks in Singapore. I was there for 5 years working with fintech companies that was coming to Singapore, many of them coming for the first time to set up shop for Southeast Asia expansion. And I was also working with SMEs to help them to digitalize and adopt tech startups, innovation that's produced by the tech startups in ASEAN. And eventually I became the head of the innovation lab. So that's before I left for Sleek, which is where I am now, which is 4 years later. I head up Sleek's fintech and strategic partnerships. So Sleek is a digital corporate services provider. And I joined them in 2021 to start and build the fintech business. We are already a major payments institution license player, and we serve the entrepreneurs that want to set up shop in Singapore, UK, Hong Kong, and Australia. So as a part of my Sleek coverage, I'm also representing Sleek in the payments subcommittee under SFA. So I've been part of the group that's representing the payments companies and payments fintechs in Singapore since 2021, participating in the roundtables with MAS, writing white papers on behalf of the payments players in Singapore. So now I'm really happy to have a chance to join the existing ExCo under Shadab's leadership to seek election for the new term. So I would say the team that's joining, we are actually individuals. We are not a party in the Singapore sense. I must highlight and correct that. We are representing a diverse group of fintech players because fintech is a very broad word. And therefore, we are very diverse in our coverage, and we each represent the segment that we are covering. But we are very common in terms of our objectives in wanting to serve and build the fintech community in Singapore. That's really looking at big ambitions to connect ASEAN, and to make sure Singapore continues as the fintech hub in this region. So specifically as part of the ExCo seeking election, what I'll be looking to do are broadly around 3 areas. One would be to continue as a voice for fintechs, specifically to continue serving in the payment subcommittee, and together looking at the regulations, the best practices, bridging the conversations between the payments companies and MAS, and as well as being a female fintech leader, which I've been supporting and cheering on since 2017. And with my background in fintech and innovation, coming from my banking days of 20 years before I joined an actual fintech, I think I can wear both the bank corporate as well as the fintech hat to bridge conversations where necessary, to promote adoption, to promote openness in terms of working together. So secondly, I'm also looking to support the efforts in fostering business growth, specifically in SME digitalization and collaboration opportunities in ASEAN. As you all know, many of the companies that come to Singapore, it's looking at ASEAN as the target markets. And I think this connectivity is super important for everybody's business growth and expansion, especially in these challenging times. So I've been in this space for the past 20 years, both in the bank and in Sleek. And this is a space where I can contribute with my domain expertise. And last but not least, I have been partnering the Institute of Higher Learnings actively in my past roles as the head of FinLab. So together with Ngee Ann Poly, I actually led the creation and the launch of a co-working space situated in Ngee Ann Polytechnic for both tech startups as well as students so that they can be interested to join the industry, right? And this is very ground up, very on the ground kind of work to expose the students and to give them a taste of what it means working in a tech startup. So other than that, with Singapore Poly and Nanyang Polytechnics as well, a very active partner with them, because I really believe in developing the future talent pool that we need. If you want to continue to grow and scale our industry here, you need more and more people wanting to come and join us. And also, as a mid-career switch perspective, I have done the jump myself from a cruise ship to a sailboat. I like to say, right? So I think having been, having so-called done this myself, I would say I am experienced in sharing what it means, this career switch. And it's also partly because I'm a strong believer in the future of fintech and wanting to continue to build the ecosystem for us, in Singapore. So I'll end with that. I'll say that, the team that we are in, we bring quite varied experiences. We want to serve and we want to build. And I think I'm really glad to see that everybody is wanting to step forward. And anybody that's not nominated, definitely, I think will continue to be involved voluntarily by way of being in the loop, by whichever exco is being nominated or elected eventually. So yeah, so that's my bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Pauline. Yep, I'll pass over to the last candidate is Chun Hao.
Hello, thank you. Hi, my name is Chun Hao. I think as the last person speaking, I have the honor of summarizing most of what my teammates have mentioned. So I promise to keep it short. I'll just point reference to some of the things that they say. I'll probably start with a brief introduction of myself. My name is Chun Hao. I'm from Global Financial Services, and I head up the sales, partnership, and innovation functions of Global Financial Services. I joined them in 2017, where I decided to go on a digital transformation to build up some of these digital financing products. Yeah, so GoBell, or GBFS in short, is actually a local lender. We essentially or primarily provide financing solutions to SMEs, local enterprises, and startups. You guys can hear me, right? Yeah. Yeah. So actually, we are no stranger to the fintech ecosystem or fintech family. We have, like I said earlier, we have digital products through the innovation and partnership arm. We co-create some embedded financing solutions with some ecosystem partners, but more importantly, over the past 3 or 4 years, we have incorporated a few fintech ventures. Namely, I'll just name a couple. One is GAN, G-A-N. It's actually a private debt investment platform with a CMS license from MAS. It essentially allows private investors to participate and fund some of our debt instruments. More recently, we incorporated another startup called Pylon. Pylon is a digital supply chain financing platform. Basically allows suppliers to unlock cash flows from their receivables from some of the anchor buyers through our platform. We just closed a seed funding round led by Wavemaker Partners and Kaya Ventures. And over the past 5 years where I joined Global Financial Services, these projects have spurred on my interest for fintech and which is why my involvement in SFA and my passion to contribute back to the sector. Yeah, so like I shared earlier, I'm an existing member of the ESCO since 2021. We regularly meet up, right? Maybe we have not mentioned, but the ESCO meets bi-weekly for at least 2 or 3 hours every time, and mainly to discuss, provide guidance to the secretariat team, work on initiatives around the 4 main core pillars. I'll just repeat again. Being the voice for fintech, we spoke about having roundtables with MAS, leading the Buy Now Pay Later Code of Conduct. We have initiatives, engagement, advocacy work around fostering business growth. We have mission trips. We did 2 last year. We're going to have another at least 2 next year. Expansion series webinars. I'm personally running a initiative, a business matching initiative, which we call it bring the fintech out of the fin. Essentially, it's a movement to help our SFA members to have business collaboration, provide advocacy to the larger SME or business networks out there. And I'm particularly passionate in this because of 2 main reasons. I think large part of our local enterprises are SMEs. I think more than 90% of them are SMEs. And a lot of them are still in early stages of digitalization. And as they carry on this journey, I think the opportunities will grow for our fintech members, fintech services to partner, integrate, embed themselves into this digital world. Secondly, GoBell and myself, we are deeply ingrained to the SME network in Singapore, and I hope that through my professional and company networks, I can be the bridge to foster this business growth. Third, grow the FinTech talent pool. We spoke about the BFSU youth chapter. We have this recently launched the career conversion program, where GoBell is also a beneficiary as an employer of the program. Lastly, simplifying access to capital. Personally, I'm involved in administering of grants. I'm in the grants committee, and as part of the grants committee, we also provide a certification committee where, in the name of financial self-sustenance, we have repositioned it from a free service into a revenue-driven service, and very encouraged by the throughput that we have gone through. I think till date, we have processed up to at least close to 1,000 applications. Despite putting on revenues, putting on fees to the whole certification program, we are still seeing very strong renewal rates, which is a testament to the secretariat team's work, to the committee's work, and the value that we provide. I just want to quickly round it up. I think a lot has been shared about the messaging that the team is putting through. We have a very diverse team of strong individuals. Many of us come from many different expertise and regions. We have legal, we have funding, we have VCs, we have people in startup. Many of us will champion different causes across the 4 pillars. We are committed. We are asking for you to vote us on. I'm sorry. Yeah, we are asking you to vote for continuity. Give us the chance to build on the momentum. We have laid the seeds of foundation, and I think over the next 2 years we will be able to bring SFA to greater heights and exponentially grow our position in the region. Yeah, thank you very much.
Excellent, Chun Hao. Thank you for your notes. Yeah, I think this comes to the end where every candidate has presented their pitch, including the ordinary members. Before Valerie and I are wrapping up, I just want to check out there any questions to the panelists, to the participants. So if yes, now's the time to ask. If that's not the case, that's also fine. So I just would like to wrap up and just, yeah, first of all, thank all the candidates for the time, but also for the pitch. I think each and every one of you has a very strong message how to make SFA more powerful going forward, how we can go forward together. I think there was very good messages from each and all of you. Just want to summarize that for the post of president, we have 1 candidate, which is Shadab Taiyabi. For the post of the vice president, we have 2 candidates, which is David Bachelier, who we heard earlier, and Kailin, who unfortunately cannot join us today. For the post of secretary, we have Chye Kit. Post of treasurer, Scott Krivokopich. And just to summarize the ordinary committee members in alphabetical order for reference, so we have Adrian Ang, Adrian Chng, Alban Olivier Salord, Bernard Chan, Shi Mei, Daniel Lo, Olivier Fang, Lovatt, Micheal Yu, Pauline Sim, and Chun Hao Tan. Yeah, so I would like to say big thank you to each and all of you. I want to highlight that for the ordinary committee members, there will be 7 seats. And also on this note, I'll highlight this, of course, the AGM will be on the 24th of March. As per the SFA constitution, every company who has joined SFA as a member on 24th of March 22 or earlier, so which means you have to be a member for 1 year, are entitled to vote. So this is just to remind a bit on the high-level flow for the AGM. And I think also on the time, you can say, so the voting on the 24th will be 4 to 5 p.m. The AGM itself will take place 5 to 7 p.m. And yeah, then we have a network dinner and drinks all together after the AGM itself. Excellent. Gwendolyn, is there anything that you would like to highlight before we end this session?
No, I think we are good. There's no questions on the Q&A, so we can close this session.
Excellent. So I would like to thank everyone, and yeah, and then happy International Women's Day for every one of us. Speak soon. Bye bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.